Warning. This video is not for kids. There is grown-up language in adult situations. Consider Kubert to be like a kind of gay Benny Hill, and you wouldn't show Benny Hill to your children, would you? Also, there's a lot of old pop culture clips featuring varying amounts of homophobia and transphobia. Just a heads up. A licensed Grand Theft Auto style game based on a long-running cartoon? Localized entirely on PlayStation 2, Xbox, GameCube, and PC? And it's good?
Yes.
Can I play it?
No.
One fish delivered to a happy home.
Hi, welcome to Bears and Games. I'm Johnny, aka Kubert, and this is Kubert Opens Worlds, a series where I play open-world drivey-shooty crime games, and then using the objectivity of mathematics, rank them. This time, we're going to take a look at 2003's The Simpsons Hit and Run, a beloved classic. This time I'm playing Simpsons Hit and Run on the original Xbox on real hardware. Now you'll notice that I swapped between 16:9 and 4:3 output on my Xbox Capture, and that is to see what the performance differences are between versions, and not because I forgot to set it back to 16:9 after hooking it up to an old TV, because I'm a professional and wouldn't do such things.
This will look great on our mantelpiece.
Sure, it was also out on PS2, GameCube, and PC, but this is the version I got, and this is the first time in cow history where the game I'm playing is worth more than $10 used. Normally these multi-million selling 6th generation North American games are cheap, but for whatever reason, licensed Simpsons games, especially the good ones, have actual resale value in the $30 to $60 American dollar range. That's steak money. So yeah, just the Xbox this time. I played the game from start to finish, but I didn't 100% it. I'm just not that kind of bear. So, in this video, I'm going to take a look at the history of The Simpsons, the mixed lineage of Radical Entertainment's games, and The Simpsons ports of yore, before diving into what works and what doesn't work in this open-world adventure. Finally, I'm going to give it scores and compare it against the 5 previous cow games, and see just where this game ranks. If you want to skip straight to the game review, check out chapters below or jump right to 43:16.
So, my friends, let's just junk those Democrats and their bleeding heart smell fair program.
Dad, I had to listen to this jerk all morning. Can we listen to something else?
When I'm driving the car, I get to choose the radio station. When you're driving, we'll listen to your radio station. I can't take this anymore. Let's switch back.
The Simpsons is, without exaggeration, the longest continually running TV show on the air, now reaching its 36th season. Everyone knows it, and each living generation has its own relationship with the show. The first episode, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, aired days before the start of the 1990s on December 17th, 1989, and I was there on the ground floor. There, for the first episode, already prepared with Simpsons t-shirts that had started selling even before the series began. Okay, technically, my older brother was super psyched about the show and its weird yellow characters before it even aired in Canada. How had merch and pop culture knowledge of the show spread before it aired? Because it originally began as a series of shorts on The Tracey Ullman Show, a Fox sketch comedy series that started in 1987.
Who is this Tracey Ullman, anyway? Me. I feel pretty, oh so pretty, oh so pretty and witty and bright, and I pity any girl who is me tonight. I'm on next, I'm Tracey Ullman. Watch me. Thank you very much.
Tracey Ullman is an English singer, actor, and comedian who even got a number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 with the catchy They Don't Know. The Simpsons served as short animated bumpers on Tracey's sketch comedy show, produced by James L. Brooks and starring the voices of Homer and Marge, Dan Castellaneta, and Julie Kavner. The sketches in The Tracey Ullman Show are, in a word, strange. In 3 words, strange but funny. They're little slice-of-life pieces, frequently with recurring characters, that often tread the line between funny and heartbreaking.
Can I have one last kiss to carry me through the rest of my years?
No.
And frequently bursts into song and even dance.
Really shake them down.
I can really shake them down.
Little Wally, if you please.
Do you love me? Billy Bones, do you love me? She's in the mood. Do you love me? Love you. Now that I can dance. Watch me now.
Plus, it's fun to see Dan Castellaneta using voices on the show he'd do as bit parts later in The Simpsons.
From England. Should I risk opening old wounds and see him?
It's very dangerous to give advice to a close friend. But you're nothing to me. So...
Before The Tracy Ullman Show, Dan was a starting out actor and comedian with a handful of roles, who Tracy found while she was scouting at Second City. And he does even occasionally show up in other things, my favorite probably being the terrible Dr. Stein in Arrested Development.
Okay, I'm going to put you on this machine to slow down your heart rate. Hopefully not too slow, because it's already dangerously slow as it is.
Whatever you think, Doctor.
Meanwhile, Julie Kavner was kind of a ringer, a known quantity. She had already won several Emmy Awards for her role as Rhoda's sister Brenda in the Mary Tyler Moore Show spin-off Rhoda, which started in 1974 and aired for 5 seasons.
Brenda, one bite of a thoroughly anything. I inflate like a rubber rat.
Sarah Lee. Are you familiar with their frozen cheesecake?
Rhoda's one of those big hit comedy shows that just doesn't resurface that much compared with, say, The Addams Family, Beverly Hillbillies, or The Brady Bunch, probably because of its more grown-up humor and tone. Both the Mary Tyler Moore Show and Rhoda were James L. Brooks productions, so it makes some sense he brought Julie back. Okay, you gotta forgive me for the weird tangent here, but the show was developed and sometimes written by Lorenzo Music, who also provided the voice of the unseen doorman Carlton.
Yeah?
Yeah, this is Carlton, your doorman. I got a short red-headed woman down here. Says she's your mother. Should I send her out?
You might recognize this voice if you're of a certain age. That's right, he famously voiced Venkman in the first series with the real Ghostbusters.
Reminds me of a college party I went to once.
But perhaps apocryphally, it is said on the internet that he was replaced because he sounded too much like Bill Murray. Or because Bill Murray didn't want to sound like Garfield. I've heard it both ways. Oh yeah, Lorenzo Music also played Garfield.
Kids, if you don't exercise with Binky, you're gonna grow up to be worthless!
I hate you, Binky. Where's my remote control?
But then again, so did Bill Murray. Wheels within wheels. Oh, and you can't talk about Rhoda without talking about Valerie Harper, and that whole Valerie's family fiasco and... The Tangent Police are coming, so let's get back to things. For Bart, they rounded up Nancy Cartwright, who had been doing voice roles in small parts on stuff like Cheers.
What did he tell you?
How you so wanted to have his child.
And this, of course, is Fraser Crane.
Oh, the poor wretch you've been counseling.
And for Lisa Yardley Smith, a young woman who had been doing small roles such as the incredible Stephen King horror classic Maximum Overdrive.
Curtis? Is he dead?
As well as a memorable role on Square One's MathNet.
We know how you feel about your friend Jane, but I'm afraid he did rob those stores.
But he just couldn't. Grunge is very shy. It took him almost a year before he could even look at me. He'd hide from people.
James L. Brooks had found Matt Groening through his underground comic strip, The Dark and Personal Life in Hell, which starred the everyman anthropomorphic rabbit Binky, his romantic interest Sheba, son Bongo, and the gay couple and/or brothers Akbar and Jeff. He brought a semi-autobiographical feel to the Simpsons shorts, and unlike the later series, they're more focused on the sense of being powerless children, resisting the seemingly arbitrary rules imposed on them by the worlds of grown-ups.
I thought I told you kids not to watch violent TV.
It's stupid, but it's not violent.
Oh, yeah?
Bart? Why, you little...
Whoa, gotta run. Good night, folks.
It also featured things that you'd see in The Simpsons going forward, like Frosty Chocolate Milkshakes,
Frosty Chocolate Milkshake,
the Happy Little Elves,
Time there was a happy little elf.
Krusty the Clown,
all these years of watching Krusty the Clown on TV. We finally get to meet Krusty the Clown in person.
and Itchy and Scratchy.
What are you kids watching?
It's Itchy and Scratchy.
Our favorite show.
Well, you're not watching it.
Also, a surprisingly on-model grandpa. Starting very sketchy and rough, based entirely on Groening's early storyboards, by the end of the shorts it was already looking very much like season 1 of the spin-off actual show. The shorts were a hit, and as they were airing on the fledgling network Fox, and they were desperate for content, it was little surprised that they grabbed the shorts and developed it into a full series. Rounding out the cast for the new series required more voice actors for the town. You've got former Spinal Tap member Harry Shearer,
and he was replaced by
Stumpy Joe. Eric Stumpy Joe Childs.
And what happened to Stumpy Joe?
Well, it's not a very pleasant story, but he died. He choked on the official explanation was he choked on vomit.
Harry would play Monty Burns, Principal Skinner, Ned Flanders, Reverend Lovejoy, Lenny, and countless more. The true mega power for The Simpsons was, of course, Marshall Wallace. Star of many, many commercials, sitcoms, especially The Bob Newhart Show, Marshall rocketed to fame as the drama teacher in Teen Witch.
Oh, divine, divine. Thank you. This reminds me when I played Mary, Queen of Scots.
Really? You did?
Yes, in New Haven. The critics loved me.
So what happened?
The best reviews in the world, and then 2 years without a part. Oh, well. I love teaching.
Okay, it was probably The Bob Newhart Show.
Emily, am I doing this right?
What are you doing?
Knitting.
And you're not doing it right.
I'll buy her a stroller.
You might, of course, recognize her as Mrs. Krabappel, who she voiced until her death in 2013. I genuinely loved her on the show, and just as an actress in general, and her vivacity and style could never be topped. Of course, there's also Hank Azaria, voice of Moe, Chief Wiggums, comic book guy Snake and Apu. Hank Azaria is probably best known outside of The Simpsons for his role as Marciano in this classic scene in Heat.
Why'd I get mixed up with that bitch?
Because she got a great ass!
The Simpsons had, for 36 seasons, voice actor Pamela Hayden, most famously the voice of Milhouse Van Houten, but also Jimbo, Rod Flanders, Mrs. Wiggums, Homer's second wife Amber, and many more. She decided to retire from the show at the end of 2024. Her best-known role is, of course, Patty from Turbo Teen.
Yes, sirree. Smiling Sam will get you top dollar for this old clunker.
Old clunker, huh?
Alex, you stay here with Turbo while I snoop on Sam.
Wait a minute.
Maybe we'll get to the bottom of this.
That's right, Major. The car's on my lot.
Next is Russi Taylor, who may be best known for her Kingdom Hearts role of a queen named Minnie.
Oh my, so those are the Heartless.
She would play Ooter, Sherry, and Terry, and most famously, Martin Prince.
My plan has come to fruition. Soon I'll be Queen of Summertime. Oh, King!
Finally, there's voice actor Tress MacNeille, most notably the voice actress for Agnes Skinner and Lindsay Naegle.
Seymour, I'm getting tired. Tell them we're going next.
Well, I'm not principal of the line, Mother.
And you never will be.
She's been in countless cartoons. Probably most notably, she played Babs Bunny in Tiny Toons, Dot in Animaniacs, and Queen Una in Disenchanted.
Booze will not help. Then what will? Drugs.
As a quick aside, but one that's actually pertinent to the subject of this video essay, neither Russi Taylor nor Marshall Wallace appear in Simpsons Hit and Run, meaning sadly there's no Edna Krabappel, and there's no Martin Prince or Ooter. The Simpsons show proper started with Simpsons roasting on an open fire. I saw that day one, because I was that cool of a 10-year-old. Legally, I'm required to tell you I was very much not cool. Back when the show started at the end of 1989, I was the same age as Bart. I am no longer the same age as Bart. I'll let you do the math on that one as I buy another pack of Just for Men for my beard. Like the shorts, the first season was mostly focused on the kids, but it was quickly obvious that, by the end of the first season, it was really becoming the Bart Show. He was the breakout star. It might be weird for younger folks who know it more as a Homer-oriented show, but initially everything was about Bart, especially the merchandise and video games. As season 2 was starting, Bart even got his own song, Do the Bartman. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this was due to the insistence of an uncredited Michael Jackson, who according to a DVD commentary told Matt Groening he would give Bart a #1 hit. And he did, at least in the UK, where it was #1 for 3 weeks. I loved it at the time, but looking back now, it's hard not to feel some, mixed feelings about the whole thing. This gets more deeply awkward when you look at Michael Jackson's role as an uncredited guest star in season 3. Michael Jackson suggested he guest star in an episode, and according to the DVD commentary, specifically requested his episode involve him spending time with Bart and helping him write a song, another in the long line of content Jackson requested about children hanging out with him alone.
Mr. Jackson?
Anyway, season 3 of The Simpsons started off with celebrity cameos that The Simpsons would be both known for and notorious for. But for this season, it was mostly celebrities playing characters rather than later seasons, which mostly involved The Simpsons shouting the name of a celebrity so you know who it is.
How dare you desecrate the hallowed boards of this converted rooster fighting arena?
Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright Tracy Letts?
Tracy Ullman initially was in many of the first and second season episodes, probably most memorably with Santa's Little Helper's stern English trainer.
Ladies and gentlemen, most of you already know that with a little love and compassion, any puppy will grow up to be a cuddly little bundle of joy. Stuff and nonsense taught by charlatans and learned by bloody twits. Let me tell you the 2 most important words you will ever hear in your life. Choke chain.
But with the obvious financial success of the show, the relationship between the two broke when she sued the network for a share of The Simpsons' profits, claiming she helped launch the series. Sadly for Ullman, this didn't work out. Early Simpsons was weird. Homer didn't talk or really look like himself.
I love you, Marjorie.
Animation was much looser and more fluid, with less standardized character poses, walk cycles, or even mouth flapping. Background characters also tend to be more bizarre, with crowds being composed of unusual one-off guys. According to the DVD commentaries for these early Simpsons, animator and director David Silverman began to tamp down on the weirder animations and started to provide a stricter template for the Simpsons models and how they should be animated. By season 3, the show, other than still using traditional cell animation, unlike modern seasons, really had established its finished look. Honestly, I still have some fondness for the absolutely bizarre designs and movements of the early seasons, but I get that it wasn't sustainable. One early episode, Some Enchanted Evening, had to be pretty much scrapped and reanimated due to how terrible the initial animation had been. But I really loved those early crowds. The show had also moved on from its opening quiet looks at family dynamics and home life to an increasingly broad array of characters too. Became more and more about the people of Springfield than The Simpsons itself, and shockingly, Bart began to take a backseat in more episodes. Season 3, known by many fans as when the show really found its footing, for me emphasized its turn from relatively down-to-earth stories about a family to a star-studded parody and adventure series.
Mom! Dad!
I really noticed it with Flaming Moe's, the episode about Homer inventing a drink for which Moe takes credit, skyrocketing the bartender to incredible success. The amount of time the episode devoted to its guest stars Aerosmith seemed weird to me.
I said, are you ready to rock? Get it!
And honestly, I was a little nervous that the show would just start being about celebrities more and more. Spoiler, it kinda was. One of the reasons for me and many fans that season 4 and 5 were so funny though was Conan O'Brien's brief stint as head writer. For the staff and animators, his script for Marge vs. the Monorail signaled a huge change for the series. With plots huge in scope, full of celebrity cameos like Leonard Nimoy,
May the Force be with you.
Do you even know who I am?
An entire Music Man-inspired musical number.
Well, sir, there's nothing on earth like a genuine, bona fide, electrified 6-car monorail. What I say?
Monorail!
And an immense action set piece. On the commentary for that episode, they reminisce about the amount of effort it took to get that episode delivered, only for the network and fans to demand everything be like that going forward. While I didn't really love Flaming Moe's, I absolutely love Marge vs. the Monorail. It has all the quadrants for me. A Conan O'Brien script, a Music Man reference, and it's a Marge episode.
How fast are they going?
Well, judging by your husband's cowardly scream, 180 miles an hour.
My Simpsons obsession came to a head in the mid-2000s, after I got to a weird point where I was listening to the director's commentaries over and over while playing Animal Crossing, and desperately trying to find work in the film industry. It got weird. Depending on who you ask, The Simpsons started getting bad either between season 7 and 16. I love the show so much that I gave it a pretty long rope, and personally I think some of my favorite episodes came out during that run, like season 8's You Only Move Twice and Homer's Enemy.
Sorry, isn't that...
Yeah, that's me all right. And the guy standing next to me is President Gerald Ford. And this is when I was on tour with the Smashing Pumpkins. Oh, and here's a picture of me in outer space.
You. Went into outer space. You.
Sure. You've never been?
Or season 11's Behind the Laughter.
To go nuts! Musically, that is. What kind of song should we play?
Something that swings with the beat of New Orleans.
No, something that rocks. That's the sound of today.
Swings.
Rocks.
Swings.
Rocks.
Sadly, this argument was not part of the act.
I'll kill you!
Guess Who's Coming to Criticize Dinner also has one of my favorite jokes of all time.
Listen, I just had a thought. We're looking for a new food critic. Someone who doesn't immediately poo-poo everything he eats.
No, it usually takes a few hours.
Yeah.
I think it's different for everyone, and not everyone stopped watching the show or else it wouldn't have ran for 36 seasons now. But I ended up dropping out for over a decade, around season 17. The episode for me that did it was $1 Million Abe, and it was a relatively harmless dud of a joke about a suicide booth called a Dipod. This was during the time of the touch-wheel Apple iPod being a big hit, just feeling like a real first draft joke that somehow made it to air. And around then, you can really feel the lack of passion the folks working on it had, and even their lack of interest in doing the commentaries. I've dipped my toes in over the years, but got spooked away by a weird Take That University Students episode with Burns.
Our students are highly entitled wusses.
You'd be creating a space for violence to happen.
There was also the strange reaction to Harry Kondabalu's The Problem with Apu. Before rewatching the clip, I was going to write about having a show go for 36 seasons means watching it go from groundbreaking progressivism to representationally iffy. But honestly, they pretty much cover it there. But at the same time, the writers can't let go of a bit of boomery reactionary anger at being criticized.
Well, what am I supposed to do?
It's hard to say. Something that started decades ago and was applauded and inoffensive is now politically incorrect. What can you do?
Some things will be dealt with at a later date.
If at all.
But there has been genuine shakeups in the past couple of seasons. Weirdly, Dr. Hibbert's wife, Bernice, has way more to do in new episodes, perhaps owing to being recast with Don Lewis.
Only 2 of those defective toys were made before they caught the mistake.
This you remember, but every year our anniversary evades you.
Don't embarrass me in front of the other Blades.
Dr. Hibbert himself was recast by Kevin Michael Richardson, and Carl of Lenny and Carl with Alex Desert.
Oh, geez. Easy there, Homer. You could have fried every electronic device in Springfield.
The comic book guy's wife, apparently got married at some point, is now being played by Jenny Okobori, and personal favorite Julio, one of the gay guys that Homer went to live with at one point, now being played by Tony Rodriguez, which I must assume is the direct result of Gayest Episode Ever's campaign to get Tony on the show.
Incompetent husband, just be a girl man. She didn't flinch when she bought you an XL-bent bun. You weren't even injured, you weren't even sick. Just too drunk to make it to the can. To the can, to the can, to the can.
Tony is awesome, and all the new casting seems to have inspired the writers to do more with these characters. Season 36 has been genuinely fun so far, with the best episode being the series finale, hosted by Conan O'Brien.
When the very first episode aired in 1989, the viewers agreed on one thing. It wasn't as funny as it used to be.
Oh yeah, and that one DoorDash episode which implies Homer is cruising the apps.
Look, we're living in the future. This little device can get me anything I want. Songs, sneakers, anonymous gay hookups, so I hear. Why shouldn't it also bring me food?
On the other hand, Julie Kavner sounds kind of miserable and hoarse doing the Marge voice now.
I encourage everyone who respects workers' rights to join us on the picket line. When we stand together, we win.
And poor old Monty Burns is pretty unrecognizable.
See here, Smithers, here's my theory. How to cut down what people earn. Every worker should be non-union. That's the genius of Monty Burns.
Personally, I think the show would be better off retiring now and sticking with occasional shorts or specials, but they're still putting out fun episodes, so I can understand those that don't want to see it end. I'd rather see the creative staff do more new shows like Disenchanted, which even in its relatively limited run I enjoyed quite a lot. Let The Simpsons rest. Let Julie Kavner rest. They all deserve it.
Speed up the core, speed up the core, man. Speed up the core, speed up the core, man. Speed up the, speed up the, speed up the, speed up the core.
You love Mole Man.
No, you do. You're gay for Mole Man.
You're gay for Mole Man.
No one's gay for Mole Man.
It didn't take long to get The Simpsons off of TV and onto gaming consoles. The first console release was a weird one. Bart vs. the Space Mutants. Personally, I've never been able to get past the first level, which was designed by former Atari greats like Dan and Barry Kitchen with help from Adventure's David Crane. It ends up playing more like a Spectrum-style English platformer like Dizzy. It certainly gets points for trying to be different, and having more adventure-style puzzles and ideas than a generic platformer. And for the first level, you want to destroy all purple objects, because the aliens love purple, or get their power from purple, but you have to solve simple puzzles in order to get purple stuff exposed to be spray painted by your red paint, including prank-calling Moe's Tavern to get him outside, so you can spray paint his apron, or knocking purple potted plants off a window ledge. It's clever, but the controls are just awful. I didn't have an NES growing up, so I don't have the same fondness for it that I do for, say, the critically loathed Alex Kidd in High Tech World. Acclaim getting the Simpsons license for console games and holding onto it with the rigor mortis of a corpse for the next 8 years or so meant that we ended up with Simpsons games ranging from the downright awful Escape from Camp Deadly on Game Boy to the I kind of see what you were going for there of Bart vs. the World. The Simpsons also hit arcades in 1991 with the incredible Konami arcade game. As you can see, the Simpsons arcade game is heavily influenced by both the success of the Ninja Turtles game and the art and characters from Season 1. It's a fantastic brawler with a really incredible for the era sprite graphic cutscene reinterpretation of the Simpsons opening, and tons of speech in Season 1 style models. Gameplay-wise, I don't love this as much as the TMNT arcade game, but it's still up there as an early Konami brawler great. Both Bart vs. the Space Mutants and Bart vs. the World were developed by Imagineering, who went on to release Bartman Meets Radioactive Man on the NES. The game had a surprisingly good-looking port on Game Gear by Teeny Weeny Games. Not a game I really gave a chance at the time, though. When The Simpsons hit 16-bit consoles, things got better, with Bart's Nightmare on SNES and Genesis. It's still in a form where you have to see what the designer, in this case cult favorite Bill Williams, was going for. In the same manner that the NES Simpsons titles had former Atari designers bringing those sensibilities to an 8-bit console, this has the feel of Williams' Alley Cat and Mindwalker all over it. Almost a surreal art game taking place in Bart's dreams as he tries to gather the lost pages of his homework assignment in order to appease his family. This is not a game I hate. Like Bart vs. the Space Mutants, there's more to the main level, which is walking down the windy street in front of the elementary school, than it initially seems, with Fairy Lisa turning Bart into a frog, which can be somehow reversed if the old lady, the one who I believe was played by Tracy Ullman and had that brother who held onto a grenade too long, kisses him. From here, you can jump into different minigames, including Bart as Godzilla, Bart going into his bloodstream and attacking viruses, I guess. It's sort of an inverse of when Bart ordered his immune system to let him be sick. There's an Indiana Jones spoof, a Bartman-style shooter level, and one where Bart is sucked into Itchy and Scratchy's cartoon and needs to escape. The Super Nintendo version especially is gorgeous, with Williams really leaning into his graphical abilities, with vivid colors, good sound, and large sprites that, for the time, really echoed the cartoon. Williams hated working with Acclaim so much on this that he abandoned game design altogether, becoming a Lutheran minister according to Ars Technica. Its sequel, Virtual Bart, hit at the very tail end of Bartmania in 1994, this time with a wraparound mechanic of Bart touring the virtual worlds on offer in Martin Prince's virtual reality machine. This was 1990s virtual reality, which basically promised to be as good as virtual reality is now, but actually was laggy and unplayable. Virtual Bart, however, isn't totally unplayable. The game, like Bart's Nightmare, again references scenes from early Simpsons seasons, including Bart throwing tomatoes at Skinner's wiggling butt, Homer getting stuck in the water slide at Mount Splashmore, and Bart as a baby from Lisa's First Word. There's also Bart as a pig in Krusty Burger's Slaughterhouse, a weird Mad Max style level, and for some reason, Bart as a dinosaur. Got critically destroyed at the time, but hey, it was a fine weekend rental, and compared to the absolute dire dreck that could come out of Western developed licensed games at the time, I honestly would call this one fine. At this point though, I'd been so disenchanted by terrible licensed games that I wouldn't buy another Simpsons game until, honestly, making this video. I was moving on to college, and the PlayStation and N64 were coming out, as well as the first-person shooter renaissance on PC with Half-Life and all that, so I missed out on the infamous Simpsons wrestling, as well as Simpsons skateboarding.
Nose grind. Nice 5-0 grind. 5-0 grind. Nose grind. 5-0 grind. Nose grind.
Even Simpsons Road Rage.
USA! Homer for hire at your service.
I need to go to the Quickie Mart to get Zip Cream. A lot of Zip Cream.
Can I come?
But my roommate did pick up Simpsons Hit and Run, so I had maybe an hour or two of experience with the game 21 years ago before picking it up at a local used game store, Willow Games. Oh yeah, I almost forgot about Bart's House of Weirdness. My brother had got the apparently pretty terrible PC port of the Simpsons arcade game in 1993, but had to return it as it simply wouldn't run on our creaky 286. Instead, he picked up Bart's House of Weirdness, another Konami release, but this one developed by Distinctive Software. It was a graphical tour de force, with a recreated Simpsons opening that rivaled the arcade game, but also ran like a slideshow on our computer. However, once the game started, you got something that was half a minigame collection and half a weird cartoon toy where you walked around the Simpsons house. It leaned again on the alien/space mutants for most of it, but also had a section where you could go through the backyard and dodge bees that for teen Johnny just was pretty much impossible. Adult Johnny has tried it, and I do confirm, it's unplayable. But man, what a great looking game. The Simpsons Hit and Run and previous game Road Rage were both by Canadian developer Radical Entertainment. Just who are they anyhow?
Wait a minute. There's something bothering me about this place. I know! This lesbian bar doesn't have a fire exit! Enjoy your death trap, ladies!
What was her problem?
Rory Arms, Ian Wilkinson, and Dave Davies were developers at Distinctive Software, the ones who did a lot of ports of Konami and Sega games to MS-DOS, as well as the aforementioned Bart's House of Weirdness when it was purchased by Electronic Arts. They decided to leave and form their own studio, Radical Entertainment. Radical Entertainment's initial output of games highlights the kind of stuff North American developers frequently shovel onto the market. Licensed platformer games like Rocky and Bullwinkle and The Terminator. They also handled the NES ports of Mario's Missing and Mario's Time Machine, as well as the infamous BB's Kids. But the first of their games that I'd actually played as a teen was their Wayne's World game, which unsurprisingly they made into a platformer. This is what you tend to expect from licensed games once you're old enough to recognize that, yes, sometimes video games can be bad. I'm not sure I can really explain the Wayne's World mania to Gen Z youths of today. I mean, they know Mike Myers, right? Austin Powers! He was in a movie with Beyonce once, and you love her! It started as sketches on Saturday Night Live, and was about two suburban burnouts filming a public access TV show in their basement, and generating the kind of top 10 lists and meme-style content that would have made them a natural for early YouTube a decade and a half later.
Of course, you know Garth, right?
Yeah, I know Garth.
Excellent, excellent. Police Chief Wilson.
Yes?
A homo says what?
What?
A homo says what?
What?
A homo says what?
What?
Exactly!
Let's get on with this!
Also, it featured Dana Carvey, who I could say starred in that one Master of Disguise movie, but that's almost a quarter of a century old, so I may have to stop trying. Oh wait, Mike Myers was in Shrek, and I know you young people love that. The sketches, based on Mike Myers' teen life in Scarborough, Ontario, were so popular it inspired two movies, and that first one? Excellent. Or should I say, excellent! The first movie was directed by Penelope Spheris, a documentarian whose The Decline of Western Civilization series explored the underground punk and art scene in Los Angeles. She added a sense of reality to the style and locations of the film, but according to Hot Onset Goss, didn't really get along with Myers. I actually kind of enjoyed the second movie too. It's by Kids in the Hall director Steven Surgic and has some fun Toronto moments and great parody stuff.
I mean, can't we get a better actor? I know it's a small part, but I think we can do better than this.
Gordon Street. Oh, yes. Gordon Street. I once knew a girl who lived on Gordon Street a long time ago, when I was a young man. Not a day passes I don't think of her. And promise I made, which I will always keep. That one perfect day on Gordon Street. That's 5 blocks up, 2 over.
The premise of the Wayne's World game is inspired by an offhand comment in the movie from Brian Doyle Murray's character Noah about his new arcade game, Xantar.
Like we have a new game called Xantar. Xantar is a gelatinous cube that eats warriors in a medieval village. And every time it eats a chieftain, you ascend to a higher level. The beauty part is you can't get to the next level, so the kids keep coughing up quarters, you know?
Gelatinous cube eats village. I think it's terrific.
Takes Wayne and Garth inside the game, sucked in magically, you see, and Garth is kidnapped by the titular gelatinous cube. Jokes from the movie are peppered around as signs in the background, and it's one of those platformers where you're in a giant-sized level with no clear goals or level design pushing you forward. Wayne can shoot, magic from his guitar. It's not great, and I would assume to a 20-something now who has no concept of the franchise, this would be absolutely baffling. So as I'm putting the finishing touches on this video, I realized that Gray Matter made the SNES version of Wayne's World. Radical Entertainment made the NES version, which is way worse. And for some reason Garth has a gun? I guess canonically they only say that Wayne doesn't have a gun.
Open it.
Okay. What is it?
It's a gun rack.
A gun rack? A gun rack. Yeah, right. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. What am I gonna do with a gun rack?
You don't like it? Fine.
Next is Radical Entertainment's take on the popular MTV cartoon Beavis and Butthead. Obviously, this is another terrible platformer and... wait, that's the Super Nintendo one. They actually did a really good Genesis adventure game. Now you start to see where the thinking that made Hit and Run so different as a licensed game came in with Radical. This game pays attention to the show and realizes you'd have more fun in an adventure-style game with a slower pace, and getting into the kind of situations they did in the show. Sure, it's got a video gamey premise, their favorite band, Gwar, is coming to town, but tickets to their show have been ripped into 8 parts that they have to collect from around the city. And Gwar is a real band.
Here's what I'm going to win again. Scum Dogs of the Universe. Thank God it's out. Will you please welcome
You know, that one with giant worm monsters that eat people on stage. Originally, Beavis and Butthead were half cartoon sketches and half them commenting Mystery Science Theater style over music videos. Fun fact, I will forever be grateful to Beavis and Butthead because they introduced me to one of my favorite bands of all time, Army of Lovers, in one of their reviews.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Oh no.
Radical Entertainment's offices, before they were Activision Vancouver, are here, in Vancouver. I live in this city. So Radical Entertainment's offices were right here, in Vancouver. If you're wondering why it's nighttime, it's because it's after November, and basically it's nighttime until around mid-March. It's also really rainy. On Terminal Avenue, a few blocks down from the car dealership where I got my used 2009 Dodge Caliber SRT4, a car that, while crazy powerful and fun to drive, was kind of a nightmare to own. The dealership even attempted to fudge the numbers on the extended warranty they sold me after delivery, and also I later found out SRT products at the time had no extended powertrain coverage. A nightmare! Why am I telling you this?
I like stories.
But now, according to Wikipedia's anyhow, they operate as a 6-person team called Activision Vancouver as a support studio on various games, and yep, they were bought as part of the Microsoft merger. So as you can see, Radical Entertainment is a land of contrasts. On the one hand, they created the fantastic Beavis and Butthead on Genesis.
That's good.
They also created BB's Kids.
Ooh, that's bad.
But they made the beloved Simpsons Road Rage and Hit and Run.
That's good.
However, they also made Wayne's World.
That's bad.
Now that I think about it, though, those prototype games are pretty close to the whole open-world, drivey, shooty crime game genre, so maybe this won't be the last we see of Radical Entertainment on this channel. Plus, I do want to try Road Rage sometime.
I know you can read my thoughts, Bart. Just a little reminder. If I find out you cut class, your ass is mine. Yes, you heard me. I think words I would never say.
I know you can read my thoughts, boy. Meow 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 meow.
So without further ado, let's sink ourselves back in the comfort of 2003. Missy Elliott's Work It was ruling the airwaves.
Come on, is it worth it? Let me work it.
Along with 50 Cent's In Da Club.
Now shorty says she feeling my style, she feeling my flow. A girl from Wooded, they buy and they ready to go from club.
While Benny Benassi pioneered music for sluts.
Till I can get my satisfaction.
Push me, and then just hurt me, till I can get my satisfaction.
I'm gonna have a baby.
Ang Lee's The Hulk baffled audiences. Okay, but hear me out. Ang Lee Hulk could get it. And by it, I mean smooches. And Love Actually reminded you that Christmas was about telling the truth.
Look, could we be quite quick?
Certainly, sir. Ready in the flashiest of flashes.
And how it's okay for Alan Rickman to cheat on you.
Classic fool.
Yes, but you've also made a fool out of me.
On TV, we marveled at Alias's amazing wigs, and nothing could stop the juggernaut that was American Idol.
Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move.
The Simpsons Hit and Run was marketed as a GTA-style open-world mission-based game. I'm going to start things off a little spicy here, and say it isn't exactly that. And again, neither was Driver, nor was The Getaway. It's actually a little bit closer to the Grand Theft Auto formula than either of those. What the game is consists of 7 discrete levels, each a different chunk of Springfield, though in reality there's 3 maps, but each is at a different time of day. You've got a linear set of mainline plot missions, which the UI points you towards. However, between missions you can also take up side missions and races, as well as explore to find hidden collectibles and gags.
Freezer burn on my beard.
While you, with one exception, play as the Simpsons family, except Maggie, there are points where another character will technically be driving while you're a passenger, but you, the player, will remain in control of the vehicle. For better or worse, there's no turret-style sequences where you're shooting out the back of a truck. This leads to another big difference between Grand Theft Auto-style open-world drivey-shooty games and The Simpsons. There's no shooty! Admittedly, it would be weird if Homer, Bart, Lisa, and Marge took out a gun and started blasting fools, but there's not really a ton of danger or combat to this game. But the game still works in spite of that, or because of it. It is kind of neat to play a GTA-style game where all you can do is playfully knock over NPCs for no reason. This also means that other than timing out or losing someone you're chasing, there's little in the way of failure conditions to this game. But that's not to say it's easy. There are a few notoriously difficult missions that we'll get to due to the sometimes radically tough nature of these time limits.
I can do something neat with this.
Things start off innocuous enough, except for the alien bugs monitoring people, with a definitely not narratively relevant commercial by Krusty for the new Buzz Cola.
I'm endorsing a new cola, kids. And this one isn't poisonous to anybody!
That we know of.
New and improved Buzz Cola is made from only the finest sugars and waters. Plus, it has a special ingredient, too hot for the FDA. It'll give you the get up and go you need to do all the pathetic stuff you have to do. Try new improved Buzz Cola.
They're sprinkling the story with foreshadowing, see? I don't know why Alien Invasions is always the go-to plot point for almost all Simpsons narrative-based video games, but I guess Kang and Kodos are a mainstay of the Treehouse of Horror series. Spoiler, this game is about aliens. Just as a quick aside, I love Nancy Cartwright's line readings for the tutorials.
Alright, player one. Homer. Use the left thumbstick to move around. This is called walking. Press the A button to jump and hold down the B button to run. Anytime you're in the air, hit jump again to get a little extra push.
Marge's first mission for Homer is to grab food, which does have a real, "don't you eat that pie" feel to it, but don't worry. Marge and Julie Kavner get their chance to shine later.
Homie, somebody ate every dessert in the house. I need you to run to the store and pick up some of that ice cream with the miniature pies in it.
Well, it must have been one of our kids. Probably Milhouse.
But from the start, you can see the whole cast putting in actual effort to do good line deliveries for this game, and that's great. It's not a Spider-Man 3 situation where poor Tobey Maguire sounded like he was being held at gunpoint.
Time for a little chat, poser.
Fine. You got me. Thanks for ruining my chance to finally be a success.
A success at what? Mugging people while wearing tights?
It helps that the game was written by 3 Simpsons writers, Matt Selman, Tim Long, and Matt Warburton. While game designers can definitely be funny, look at Secret of Monkey Island. Having writing staff from The Simpsons gives things a much stronger feel to the show, from writers who had a firm hand on the style and tone. A strong, firm hand, grasping onto the tone tightly. Almost too tight, but just enough so that the tone can breathe. But no, it has given out control completely to its master. The first level is a chunk of suburban Springfield out to the trailer park, cemetery, and nuclear power plant. Given that the geography of the show is pretty loose, it doesn't have the old chestnut that the Simpsons power plant is right behind the Simpsons house on Evergreen Terrace. So Homer has a list of chores to do. Grabbing that ice cream, dropping off Lisa's science project, returning Flanders' missing stuff, and getting to work on time. Your vehicle is not immune to damage. If you do destroy your vehicle, which can happen especially with the Frink hover car, there's just a nominal fee to restore it back to health. Vehicle restoring wrenches are also conveniently located in nooks and crannies. It eschews a cel-shaded approach like, say, Jet Set Radio, for something resembling more the Homer Cube Treehouse of Horror segment. This gives it a weirdly retro mid-1990s look, with pretty sparsely detailed and shaded background objects and characters. The music in the opening level sets the mood for the game, almost Tim Burton-y, inspired by the Danny Elfman theme rather than the usual Alf Clausen-style tracks used in the show. Given the spooky overtones of the alien invasion that gets more prominent as the game progresses, and using many riffs on the Elfman theme, it can veer more into the Pee-wee's Big Adventure mood rather than a Simpsons feeling.
Now near mint.
What the heck were you?
It's almost all live orchestrated though, with some excellent instrumentation. Homer starts noticing the weird black vans monitoring the city and tries to chase one down.
In other unexplained news, strange black vans have been appearing all over town.
Marge, that black van is spying on us.
Oh, homie, you're so sexy when you're paranoid.
Missions tend to involve picking up objects within a time limit, destroying a car you're chasing, getting away from a vehicle that's chasing you, getting to a location within a time limit, or smashing into a car to make it drop collectible objects within a time limit. Missions within a level are multi-part, usually with several quest givers among the people of Springfield. There's a checkpoint within each sub-part of the quest, but these sub-parts can last anywhere between 1 and 5 minutes, sometimes with multiple sub-objectives within. This can get tight when you have several tasks to do and it doesn't reset the timer between sub-objectives, which happens somewhat randomly. For the second level, you've got the downtown Simpsons core. Bart is committing truancy.
Is Dexter ill today?
Mr. Kirk, Dexter's in school.
I'm afraid he's not, Miss Fishmore. Dexter's truancy problem is way out of hand.
I gotta get the new Bone Storm or I'll be as uncool as Millhouse. I'm standing right here, Bart.
But it's truancy with good reason. He's wanting to pick up a new Bone Storm game. Millhouse warns him that if he's caught, it's expulsion.
And when you're caught, it's expulsion, Bart. Expulsion!
The Baltimore County School Board have decided to expel Dexter from the entire public school system.
Well, Mr. Kirk, I'm as upset as you to learn Dexter's truancy. But surely expulsion is not the answer.
I'm afraid expulsion is the only answer.
For this set of stages, Bart does some of the driving. He starts off with Martin Prince's honor roller, but soon gets lifts from his friends, family, and various Springfieldians. The game does one weird thing where if you're being driven by someone else, each character that drives you has a voice line scolding you if you try to get in that driver's door.
Oh, stop your daydreaming, Melonhead, and get in the car.
Oh, please, you can't figure out how to enter a car.
You can unlock more cars, both driven by your character and some driven by others, through doing side quests, optional races, and buying vehicles from old Gil or random Springfielders around the city. Does it make sense for a Simpsons game to be so car-oriented? I mean, I get this is a parody of Grand Theft Auto, but how much of The Simpsons really revolves around cars?
Here! A female?
Put it in H! Nice call! What are the
Okay. I guess if I was trying to fill out a half page on some kind of media studies paper, I could talk about the large amount of Simpsons car references I could pull off the top of my head. Could be due to The Simpsons as a distorted lens refracting the stratum of American society, and in its erstwhile critique of the American way of life, particularly that of the late 80s and 90s, the automobile fulfills a central role of both industrialization and needless consumerism, or something. Does that sound good? Anyway, the game is sold out, but Bart is motivated by Kearney to get firecrackers instead.
Video games are so late 90s. Illegal fireworks are all the rave now. Better make it snappy though if you want to be part of this trend.
Note on the music. This section has some very terrible shovelware-style random rock and roll, the kind that plays over reality shows about rebuilding old cars or in Ford Mustang racing.
Boy, I oughta...
Also, in the red light district of town, there's this one track. It sounds so familiar. So familiar. So familiar.
That was one tough wrestling game.
Oh yeah, I am so sore. Oh, shame my wife's on here.
Okay. After editing this, I realize it's a play on the A3 song Woke Up This Morning. As Fat Tony's Legitimate Businessman Association is located in this part of town, it's specifically a reference to The Sopranos' use of this song for its opening credits. You also hit the first mission that requires a specific vehicle. You have to purchase Mr. Plow from Homer.
I need your truck, Homer.
Why should I give you that?
Because I love you.
Pay up, sucker.
You're charging your own son?
Yeah, I guess I am.
Need Buzz Cola coins that you can collect around town by just finding them around rooftops, hitting things, smashing Buzz Cola crates, and defeating the weird alien bee camera drones that fly around town. These alien bee cameras are the only real enemies in the game, but they don't do much more than knock you down. You'll notice, thankfully, that you don't actually have a health bar. But it does knock coins out of your pocket, which disappear quickly, Sonic style. This can get expensive if you're not quick about picking them up again. Each level is a more difficult iteration of the bee cameras as they begin to get more mobile, start dodging you, run away, and eventually start firing at you and developing a temporary shield that you have to take down. They're hidden around each level, usually around Buzz Cola crates, and are one of several collectibles in the game. So the crates and bee cameras are the main source of income for these vehicles you need to buy. However, later in the game, you may have mistakenly purchased an outfit or a car you didn't need, or ran out of cash getting hit too many times by those dumb cameras, and these mission gates can prove frustrating. If you're out of boxes and vending machines to break, there's nothing you can do but repeatedly smash the glass crusty barriers dotted around the city that respawn, each one giving you about 20 coins. For the most part, there's no platforming required for mainline missions. They're almost all driving with the occasional on-foot collection just to switch things up. Platforming is almost fully reserved for getting the bonus boxes, collectible cards, and cameras. It also reminds me that Hit and Run was one of the first games that I can think of that reward pickups with the dopamine-releasing casino sounds, something that Vampire Survivors and every single mobile game figured out a few years later. But the platforming. Boy howdy, I'm terrible at platforming. But it also hit me what this game reminded me of the most, and it wasn't Grand Theft Auto 3. Heck, what it reminds me of didn't even come out for another 2 years, LEGO Star Wars, and the following LEGO games made by Traveler's Tales. Something about the zoomed out feeling of the platforming, the goofy way you knock over NPCs, the overall low stakes nature of the action, very LEGO. Bart's level does have you meet Professor Frink, voiced by Hank Azaria. He's around for most of the game, and Hank goes above and beyond.
Here's your last doodad. So can I see the Truckosaurus thing?
Yes. Is a word I would love to be able to say. Unfortunately, there are too many people using cell phones, and the interference would then cause the monster to malfunction and kill many people. And my insurance is already sky high with the premiums and the schmeemiums.
I bet like 20 Canadian dollars that a lot of his lines are improvised. There's so many of them, and they pretty much all make me laugh.
Glurvik, I can't seem to Glurvik. Blimey, that was big.
Now for younger nerds out there, you might not be aware that Frink is both named after a Simpsons writer, John Frink, and completely an homage to Jerry Lewis's character from the original 1963 Nutty Professor.
By the way, we don't wear glasses at Big Tennies.
Oh, well, fine. Then I'll just take these off. I didn't realize that you're not supposed to, there's nowhere really that I have to... Is there some place that I could put these?
Would you like me to put these in a locker for you?
Well, I certainly would appreciate it. You're very kind. I would have put them there had I known that there was some form of restriction. Some people use them for a facade. I wear them for eyes. You see, for eyes, it's a play on eyes. Huh.
Listen, the teeth do a lot here. But honestly, 50 Million Frenchmen can't be wrong. He's great. It's basically the seed from which the splendiferous Steve Urkel / Stefan Urkel bloomed.
Please, party on, party on.
Where was I? Oh yeah. Professor Frink can't provide any copies of Bone Storm to Bart, even after Bart runs all cell phone using drivers off the road to prevent Truckosaurus from going on a murderous rampage.
Well done, my little sociopath.
I like to smash.
Now there is no chance my Truckosaurus will go on a killing rampage with the screaming and the sadness and the hosing of blood off the robot.
All right, that was so cool. Wow, Truckosaurus is some kind of truck/dinosaur. I never would have guessed. Uh-oh. Yes! Everybody do the Bartman!
Unfortunately, Bart is abducted by a swirl of alien space smoke, but in spite of it being in the loading screen newspapers, the family is unaware. So it's up to Lisa to find him. Let me tell you, as a lifelong Yardley Smith fan, it was great to play as Lisa. I knew that I had to spend valuable Buzz Cola coins on maybe the best outfit in the game, her Florida outfit. I know it's just easy fan service, but hey, that might be one of my favorite Lisa moments of all time. Milhouse strings you on a series of locations where he swears he saw Bart, but really he's just out there trying to get Lisa to agree to go to the harvest dance with him.
Hi, Lisa! My, your hair looks pointy today.
Milhouse, have you seen Bart or not?
So, Lisa, do you have a date for the harvest dance?
This is not a good time.
It's never a good time!
Frink says Bart disappeared in a bright light, and then you have to go make sure you have enough coins to afford a school bus to chase down one of those black Fed cars, as Grandpa saw Bart's red hat fall out of one.
But Bart's lucky red hat fell out of that black car.
Wow, Grandpa, what a great clue. You showed why senior citizens are valuable members of the community.
I think my baby teeth are growing back. That's why I had to punch that nurse.
Lisa's level takes place in the waterfront part of the map, which also includes Burns' Casino, Camp Krusty, and the Krusty Lou Studios, a longtime Simpsons joke and a nod to the Desilu Studios started by Desi Arnaz and Lucille Ball, on which was shot the original Star Trek, Mission Impossible, and other shows that didn't feature Leonard Nimoy. Oh, and I forgot to mention, one mechanic that starts popping up more and more as the game progresses is the hit-and-run system. Basically, it's just a crime meter, and when it fills, you get chased by cops from all sides that attempt to ram you off the road. The meter fills up every time you hit a roadside object or pedestrian, and don't worry, the pedestrians just playfully bounce away from your vehicle. The police chase only lasts a minute, but they can easily blow up your car, which can sometimes cost you your mission, or just eats up valuable time if you get arrested.
Excuse me, Chief Wiggum, can you help? I've got to find my brother.
Sorry, little girl. I'm busy collecting evidence on Jailbird. We're busting him on the 3 strikes law.
How many strikes do you have so far?
No strikes. But that's only because I'm a very, very bad cop.
You get to drive around with Chief Wiggum, which is excellent, as he chases Snake.
I hope Bart gets blamed for...
Strike 1. Counterfeit designer jeans. The foulest of all crimes.
Next up is the old sea captain, who says he saw Bart get put into a limo. Unfortunately, the mission does require you to ram the limo off the road, after which it explodes. Fortunately, Bart was already off of it. And I was under the impression from the navigation arrows that you had to do a crazy jump to get Bart on the ship, but watching a long play later showed me actually you could just easily jump on there.
What a perfect day.
Oh. In my favorite narrative turn of the game, Bart is alive and on the ship, but rambling incoherently.
Bart, I found you.
Finally, we get to play as Marge.
Bart, what's causing your ooga booga talk? My special little guy's Noogle has turned to Google.
You're back in the suburban area of the first level, but this time it's early evening. Her initial car is the Canyonero, which I love. Wiggums points you towards Cletus' shack, where crop circles have appeared. There's a particularly frustrating side mission where you have to collect comic book guys' love accoutrement, but it has my favorite opening in the game.
Oh, I know. It's not easy being husky.
There's some platforming around the school you have to do, with which the camera just absolutely refuses to play along properly, leading to a few blind jumps before it settles itself down. The worst are the school vents that blow Marge off course. There is a brief Hans Mole Man quest giver moment, but sadly not enough of him. Grandpa knows all about crop circles, but you have to get his meds back before you can tell Marge about them. After Marge gives him them and some trucker pills, Grandpa remembers an old crop circle.
Last freaking time, tell me about the crop circles.
There I was, surrounded by Tojo and his Nazi henchmen, when one of them, a raccoon as I recall, hits me with a banjo. Now, I never reasoned with a raccoon, let alone a Nazi one, so I...
Grandpa, what does this have to do with the crop circle?
Not a thing!
Bart, do you recognize this design?
That's the alien mind control cola. They gave us tons of that up in the alien spaceship. They're using it to make the town go crazy.
Oh, thank God, you snapped out of your trance. I was so worried.
Later, I'm going to the arcade.
This conspiracy goes all the way to the top. I need a little extra firepower. As Officer Marge.
Bart snaps out of his trance, and now you have to buy the Officer Marge uniform and do one of those on-foot segments where you pick up a line of Buzz Cola cans in a surprisingly tight time limit. This took me a few tries. Marge decides to go on a personal vendetta against Buzz Cola, ramming one of their trucks off the road. Okay, I do love one of Marge's quips here, as you smash into things on this level.
It's true. Women drivers aren't very good.
Now we get to level 5, and the one non-Simpsons family member. That's right, it's Apu. He feels downright terrible for hawking mind-controlling soda, decides to make things right. Now you get to drive his sweet Firebird, something I've always wanted to do in a Simpsons game. As I was playing through this, I was thinking about how you never really see any South Asian representation in playable game characters, and how this was a surprisingly neat progressive moment. But then, the ghost of still-living Harry Condablu appeared before me, in a semi-corporeal form, and punched me straight in the balls. I don't know if I'm the best person to judge this, but I think the Bollywood-style music over this level and the sitar take on the Simpsons theme are pretty fun. There are 2 must-purchase moments in the Apu level, which again takes place in the Simpsons downtown core. You have to buy the Homer off of Homer, which is weirdly labeled as Car Built for Homer, which reads to me as some kind of we didn't want to pay the writer of this episode royalties for the Homer's appearance. But then again, there's billboards for the Homer in this level, so who knows. You as well have to pick up Apu's very American outfit in order to blend in. This was the point where I was just square out of cash, but I really did enjoy Hank Azaria's reading of Thank You, Horrible Man.
Hello, famous American clown. I wish to ask a favor.
Everyone wants to wet their beaks.
I require information about trucks delivering evil cola. How can I get this classified data?
Sorry, Apu. I'm a drink-squeezy, punchy lowlife. You need a professional scumbag. Follow a cop until you find one. You'll have better luck if you know, look American.
Thank you, horrible man.
So after half an hour or so of grinding out as much cash as I could, I moved on. Never Trust a Snake was, to me, the single hardest mission in the game. Apu fills in for Snake and doing his community service, picking up trash being dropped by a very, very fast-moving garbage truck. and then you have to on foot pick up the 25 pieces of garbage left around the city. You can save some time by hopping back into the car after visiting the monorail station, and then you have to get back to the DMV before the timer runs out. This is one of those missions where the timer never resets after completing each part of the task, and the time limit is tight. Then you go for a drive with Snake, destroy an armored car for him, and head back to his hideout.
No! Perhaps I should refrain from doing that in the future.
Finally, Apu and Bart join forces to track down the conspirators behind Buzz Cola at the museum, but they have to destroy the curator's car.
You come back here! My bones and organs! Time to lay some rubber down. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm actually excited to be going to a museum.
Shiva H. Vishnu! The cola is dripping from that meteor!
Ooh, free deadly cola.
We did it! We destroyed a priceless archaeological artifact! Oh.
What we? I did all the driving.
Now let's find out who's behind all this strange cola business.
I know it's a cliche, but ay caramba!
Kodos, look at these space ratings for Foolish Earthlings.
What happened, Kang? Foolish Earthlings used to be the #1 reality show in the galaxy. Space viewers couldn't get enough of these humans and their behavior.
Our show is down in all key demos.
But our show concept was so perfect. We filmed these idiotic bipeds with hidden cameras and beam it into every television in the galaxy.
Cover your knockers!
These aliens have been secretly filming an intergalactic reality show in Springfield.
I knew there was a simple explanation.
I'm going to introduce the evil cola into the water supply. People will go mad.
I like it.
Then we distribute laser guns at the Squidport tourist area.
I like it.
The cola-maddened humans will go berserk.
I like it.
Destroying themselves and their town.
Delivering big space ratings for Foolish Earthlings.
We've got to prevent the aliens from putting laser guns in the hands of cola-drunk townspeople.
Why? That sounds hilarious. I'd watch that show.
I tell you what, you're a bad little boy.
Now back to Bart, America's bad boy, this time in the waterfront district from level 3. Bart gets the fancy car that he got when he became Burns' heir in the 5th season episode, Burns' heir. And by this point in the game, time limits are really tight, and Bart needs Krusty's help. This requires chasing down his limo, but Krusty doesn't believe Bart.
Krusty, listen carefully. Aliens are handing out free laser guns and cola that makes you go crazy. It'll be a massacre. The streets will be littered with lasered off limbs and heads.
Yeah, right. And I'm getting into the Country Western Hall of Fame. It just ain't gonna happen, kid.
Oh, I just gotta find evidence. Who do I know that's smart enough to prove this alien conspiracy? Bumblebee Man? Comic book guy? Disco Stew? That's it. A nerd! Professor Frink!
So Bart tracks down Frink, which does require chasing his semi-invisible car. Bart finds a working laser gun by the Duff Blimp and gets to destroy Wiggum's car to help Snake get out of a crime.
Man, this sucks.
Good thing this car belongs to the city.
Bart asks Skinner for help, but Skinner ignores his claims and just confiscates his laser gun. The kind of betrayal I haven't seen since Stefano put John Black on trial in the Paris catacombs, and the people of the underground sentenced John to death by guillotine.
Get him into position. Take it away. You're going down. You're going down there. Do it.
So, about this laser icon they made. Definitely a laser icon. Yep, for sure. You get back to Krusty with proof, and he makes a real 2003 transphobic joke, which was the style of the time.
Oh, why didn't I just do this in the first place?
Why didn't I know that showgirl last night was a guy? Hindsight's always 20/20.
Dad, the aliens have taken over the Duff Brewery and they're using it to store laser guns. Oh, God, never in my life have I ever had to do so much explaining.
What? This is Duff's worst disgrace since Duff Ice. It's time to use my secret weapon. Remember when I told you I sold my old car so you could go to college?
Yeah?
It was a lie.
Yay, tough luck, Swarthmore.
Homer reveals he never sold his sweet muscle car, and Bart and Homer race the aliens in their black FBI cars back to the Duff Brewery.
The lasers were only the beginning. Even now, our all-purpose Evil Cola is spreading underground through your water supply. It will wake the dead. Zombies will rise from the grave and devour the living.
And our ratings will rise to levels unseen since the heyday of Evening Shade.
Oh man, that sounds cool. I mean, oh no, I hope their plan fails. Who am I kidding? Zombies eating brains? Oh, this is gonna rock!
Somehow, though, the town is overrun by zombies, and this is the last level. You get the most Danny Elfman-esque music, so much theremin, and the camera frequently tilts to a Dutch angle to emphasize the horror.
I need your chainsaw to chop up attacking zombies.
But then how will I defend myself?
Mo. Shouldn't the weapons go to save people who have loved ones?
Yeah, I guess so.
I think I made my point.
Well, better go comb my hair before the zombies get here. My life stinks.
After grabbing a chainsaw from the unloved Mo, Homer can do some races with the zombies, which did make me chuckle. Comic Book Guy explains that the black cars are probes from the alien mothership.
What's with the cool black car?
My knowledge of sci-fi movies is correct, which it is. The black car is an advanced probe for the mothership. Now, if you're through, I will spend my last hours on Earth complaining about movies on the internet.
The gift of life is wasted on you.
Yes, I recommend you obtain a zombie car. It will protect you well, but it runs on human brains. Slight drawback.
I got plenty of those.
And you get to buy a Dragula from one of those zombies so you can blend in. After burning the witches and running through the ditches in it, you follow one of the black cars to the power plant.
Looks harder than it is.
I'm glad you're here, my morbidly obese ally. Based on my mathulations, I figured out the alien's weakness. It's nuclear waste. Yuck.
And how does that affect me?
Well, it could save the life of you and your family.
And?
Look, I've loaded my vehicle with nuclear waste from the power plant. It's going to deliver this toxic payload to the alien ship, risking myself and my delicious brain to zombie snacking, which if you've never undergone that, I can tell you it stings.
What a hero. And I never knew his name.
It's Professor John Frank.
Are you still here?
Frink figures out their weakness is the nuclear waste from the power plant, and Homer has to deliver 3 whole barrels of it to the mothership. I've heard this called the most difficult mission in the game, but I had a way harder time with that snake stuff, or even trying to do Smithers' chores in this level.
Nice alien craft. Now to just get out of the path of the tractor beam! Oh, it's sucking me up!
Boy, talk about thinning the nerd.
Frink dies, and then Homer has to do the single worst piece of platforming in this game, if you're like me and have negative skill points in platforming. Maybe you're normal and had a great time with this. I did not.
Ooh, odds budkins, is it you, Merryweather? Come to haunt me again? I killed you once.
Mr. Burns, it's me, Homer Simpson.
So you're not the ghost of my former partner. Whew. Wow. That was... wow.
Look, I need to get some barrels of radioactive waste to save Springfield from the aliens.
I agree. illegal aliens are a nuisance.
Not leaf blower aliens, tentacle aliens.
Go. In that case, here's the map to where I buried nuclear waste barrels all over Springfield. And the EPA wanted to find me. Bleeding heart liberals. I hope they bleed from the heart.
Burns gives you all the locations for his nuclear waste barrels, and you grab another one with Snake, sacrificing him to the aliens as well.
Okay, don't spaz. I'll get you there. Sayonara, dudes!
That was so painful.
Finally get Grandpa's military jeep, Grandpa also sacrificed, and the alien ship crashes.
Eat nuclear death, you effeminate wriggling spacewads! Imagine that, scared of some harmless nuclear waste. So very harmless. Oh, cut your fingernails!
That fortune teller was right. I do end up dying in a spaceship crash.
Dad, I'm really proud of you for rescuing us all from that alien invasion.
Did that really happen? I thought it was a bad dream after eating too many raw hot dogs.
No, homie. You're the town hero.
Sweet. And the ninja babysitters? Was that real or a hot dog dream?
Hot dog dream.
Dad, your fans want you outside.
Fans? Oh, those fans.
At least our show was a success.
Why did we go to Earth Heaven when we died?
At least we don't have to sit through the stupid video game credits.
All's well that ends well. I do love Kang and Kodos' commentary over the end credits. I must admit, even with the trappings of the game revealing itself to basically being a Treehouse of Horror episode in which anyone can die, I was still quite unprepared for Homer murdering Frank, Snake, and his own father with no regrets. Truly revealing himself to be a sociopath.
That guy deserves such a probing. Who are these people? I never saw them during production.
They implement torture and punishment. The other drones scuttle and run at their approach.
What is the difference between an associate producer and a producer anyway?
If you ask me, these humans spent too much time exchanging long protein strands with one another.
Hi, Homer. What can I do for you?
Sir, I need to know where I can get some business hammocks.
Hammocks? My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Hammocks! Homer, there's 4 places. There's the Hammock Hut. That's on 3rd.
Uh-huh.
There's Hammocks R Us. That's on 3rd, too. You got Put Your Butt There.
Mm-hmm.
That's on 3rd.
Yes.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Right.
Matter of fact, they're all in the same complex. It's the Hammock Complex down on 3rd.
Oh, the Hammock District.
That's right.
Perhaps the greatest thing that Simpsons Hit and Run does is treat its property, The Simpsons, and its players, Simpsons fans, with respect. As I said before, getting a trio of Simpsons writers to handle the dialogue, as well as most of the original voice cast, helps this feel like an extended episode. The fan service stuff, for the most part, is pretty good. I don't mean in the you get an achievement for looking up 2B's skirt way. I mean, there's a lot of fun callbacks, especially in the form of cars and outfits. I love that outfits from certain episodes have gameplay functions, like Marge dressing up like a cop from the Springfield Connection, or Apu's outfit from Much Ado About Nothing. And the selection of cars is just great. You got the Frank flying car, the Homer, both Mr. Plow and Plow King, deep cuts like Bart's Ferrari and Homer's old muscle car. That's the way fan service should work. A reference, but one that makes sense of the context of the game. Heck, I would love if the outfits all became part of optional puzzles to be solved, but that's probably asking for another year of development or something. Another thing the game does well? Plenty of new jokes. It's not just bringing up old jokes and saying, do you remember this? There's plenty of stuff like Nancy Cartwright picking up the perfect tone for the tutorials.
Okay, homeboy, here's how you drive this thing. Press the A button to accelerate and use the left thumbstick or directional pad to steer. The B button is your brake in reverse, and the X button is your handbrake. You know, just like every driving game ever.
Or Hank Azaria's seeming ad-libbing as Frank.
Oh, that was right in development.
Or Pamela Hayden as the anguished and put upon Milhouse.
Milhouse, has Bart been here?
I haven't seen him. Hey, can I buy you a frozen yogurt? I'll throw in 2 dry toppings or 1 wet topping.
They all give it their all, and we've seen so many instances of voice actors sleeping their way through video game voiceover roles. I also appreciate that the game doesn't overstay its welcome, especially important for a more comedy-based game. While I've seen long plays on YouTube running about 4 hours, with my, gaming skills, I ended up somewhere around 10. Finally, I do really like how it gives every Simpsons family member, except Maggie, a full level, even if Homer and Bart get 2. Not enough Simpsons stuff lets you play as Marge and Lisa, which I get, as they're often pushed as the comedic foil or bummer fun ruiners. I like that it presents the challenge to writers as to how they would act when turned into full-on chaos goblins. Okay, one last thing that I really do appreciate with this game. While Springfield's geography is constantly changing, one thing has been consistent throughout the series. King Toot's music store is next to Moe's. Everything else can change. Sometimes the power plant's behind Homer's house, sometimes it's on the other side of the city, but King Toot's always has to be next to Moe's. And it is! Really though, this is part of the well-designed levels themselves. They're, for the most part, detailed and chock-a-block with stores and references from the show, but also designed to be circular, so as long as you keep heading forward, you'll end up back at the start eventually. There's a couple of tough-to-navigate portions, notably the dogleg around the hospital and the Matlock Expressway, but everywhere has secrets to find, smashable crusty glass to indicate shortcuts, something that Burnout Paradise would yoink later, and little platforming bits that lead to collectible cards and other rewards.
This'll be Marge's secret.
Well, look who's here. Hi, Poochie. You look like you've got something to say. Do you?
Yes, I certainly do. I have to go now. My planet needs me.
Now I'm a little anxious saying negative stuff about this game. It's a beloved favorite, especially for the millennials and Gen Zs that grew up with Hit and Run. I don't want to be some Gen X jerk swinging in and telling everyone that it's bad. I don't think it's bad, I swear. Okay, let's start with some of the writing, and I know I said before the game does some well-executed fan service. On the flip side, it leans too heavily on Simpson jokes from earlier shows.
2, 4, 6, 8, you suck, I'm great, da 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 da, you I hate, walk. That wasn't part of the deal.
It's basically a reference Palooza. And I like a reference.
I am evil Homer, I am evil Homer.
When they tried out I Am Evil Homer, SMRT, or Apu saying something was between me and you, speaking to an inanimate object, I guess the goal here is to chuckle at a joke you liked before, but at some point it feels like they're just saving time writing new jokes and just having them say the line.
Say the line, Bart! I didn't do it.
I mean, I can be a sucker for these. And what is a Simpsons game for other than celebrate the series? But I generally like the moments more where the game comes up with its own jokes and situations, rather than just remind you about something that happened before in an episode you liked. Still, I'm not too proud to stop myself from dressing up Homer in his Evil Homer outfit, basically one step away from Panther in Persona 5.
We're done here. That was incredible, Skull.
On a related note about the jokes and writing, it kind of feels like the writers were in a vacuum when they wrote it. There's multiple jokes about insurance that kind of repeat each other but also contradict each other. I get when you're assigned a driving-based game to write jokes for, you're gonna sweatily grasp for driving-based goofs, but this one particularly repeated a bit from multiple characters that just stuck out to me as needing second drafts.
I have no insurance.
Is this going to affect my insurance? Now I wish I had insurance.
This is not good for my insurance.
Don't think I won't sue.
Please don't sue us again.
I have road rage and I know how to use it.
Road rage building.
It's time for some road rage, Bart Simpson style.
I need some road rage.
Eat my dust. Eat my dust, dust eater.
Eat my dust, dust eaters.
Also, it doesn't control very well. Of all the open-world drivey-shooty games, I put this one's vehicle physics well at the bottom, below even the finicky cars of the Getaway. While you can get muscle cars to drift and there is a handbrake button, really trying to play the game like a capital S serious capital D driving capital G game just doesn't work. And I get that for a lot of people, that's not the point. Why should I evaluate a game based primarily on the writing and humor on how well the cars drive? Because that's what you're doing in the game. You're spending 4 to 10 hours driving, and if the basic act of the game isn't satisfying, that's a problem. That's why I never got really far in the game initially, because the game didn't feel good to play. I don't mean that the game has to get the crunchy, unfriendly suspensions of something like Grand Theft Auto 4 or the hyper-specific controls of the Driver series, because this is a game aimed at a general audience. GTA 3 knocked the car controls out of the park, and in my view just kept improving it as it went. And that was with DMA Designs having GTA 1 and 2 to get the sense of how cars in open world should drive, and Body Harvest for how it should work in a fully 3D world. But that took time and iteration. And I bet with that kind of time, if Radical had got the chance to keep doing these games, they would have improved. But it does require the space, time, and budget to keep refining it. Another question, and one that may not have an easy answer. Does the game look good? Kinda sorta? Some parts of it do. I think the world is well built, and there's some good lighting and draw distances. Performance on Xbox is a bit all over the place, usually running around 60, but then dipping pretty hard in certain moments. In writing this, I had a long play on, showing the GameCube version, which weirdly seems more consistently smooth. I promise, if this channel actually starts making me enough money to buy games, I will go back and test all three versions against each other, but for now, that's a financially strenuous undertaking. But either way, you've got simplified environmental detail, but a lot of it. The buildings do have a bit of the PS1 feel to them, but the density and draw distance help a lot. There's some good time of day changes, and the Sunset and Lisa's level looks pretty great. The car models are very simple, definitely underlining the PS1 feel to some of the visuals. As I said before, it's really going for the Homer 3D look, both in cutscenes and in the game. This means very rounded characters as softly shaded 3D objects, built actually pretty similarly to the figures that came out for the show in the 1990s. By 2003, you had both Jet Set Radio and Jet Grind Radio Future, and the Looney Tunes Space Race, and even Beautiful Joe, all of which had fantastic cel-shaded style art. It was the new hotness. In writing this, I played another Simpsons game that did use cel shading, and I was going to provide that as a counterpoint to the look of Hit and Run, but let's put a pin in that thought and come back to it later. But this art style we have. It's consistent and its characters look reasonably good from all angles, even if it's not my favorite way to handle cartoon conversions. And my next nitpick? Pre-rendered cutscenes. They don't look good. If you've been following this channel for a while, you may know that I just don't enjoy pre-rendered cutscenes. While I can understand that, say, making fully animated cutscenes with the actual artist would have been financially impossible for the scope of this game, I'd much rather say in-game cutscenes that at least blend well with the look and feel of the rest of the game. Let's put another pin in this and I'll come back to what a Simpsons game can look like in a bit. Now, I know I said before that I love having Marge and Lisa be playable and part of the chaos of this game. And yet, there's not enough good Marge and Lisa and no Maggie. Throughout the DVD's director's commentaries, the mostly male writers would bemoan having to write Marge, and especially Lisa episodes. George Meyer was often tagged with doing Lisa episodes because he had daughters, and a soft spot for Lisa. But he wasn't on this project, and the writing for Lisa's level just doesn't give much of a chance to dig into her chaotic and rebellious side. She does at least have a good narrative through line, she's trying to find her brother, but I feel like they could have gone harder on her quips and banter. Marge does better, but I still would have loved another set of levels for both of them to give them more time, but that's again just due to them being my favorite duo on the show. Obviously it's hard for Maggie to be able to carry a level on her own, but I know I would have tried to figure out a little something for her to do because she's Maggie and everyone loves her. My biggest negative note about the game are the difficulty spikes. That one snake mission took me a few hours to get through. It was entirely due to the very tight time limit. Almost every other mission resets the timer between subsections, and this one not doing it seems like a design error and not a deliberate choice. Watching through other people play this section in long plays shows everyone finishing it with 1 or 2 seconds left, just like I eventually did. And there's some rough parts in the second BART level, getting to and from Krusty Lou Studios, just due to the increased hit-and-run mechanic throwing cops at you when you have to drive through the waterfront area. And obviously, while I'm too amazing of a pro gamer to have the same difficulties that the Game Grumps did with the Alien Autopsy levels, those are pretty notorious among players of a certain age too. Each level has a set of 3 bonus races assigned to you by Patty and Selma at the DMV. This is a fun idea, but the races are thoroughly stacked against you, with one ringer who will absolutely destroy you unless you have the fastest car available on each map. This reminds me of the punishment for overtuning your car in Gran Turismo 3, where suddenly you'll be racing against a Shelby Cobra that you basically have no hope of catching up to. This reduced the fun of the races to more of a check whether you've purchased the most powerful vehicle or not. Thoroughly debunking my claiming pro gamer skills are my platforming abilities. The platforming is mostly devoted to bonus objectives, but I enjoy getting bonus objectives, so I did have to struggle with the camera and loose feeling jumping. When the game actually needs you to do these within a time limit, like gathering comic book guy sex stuff, or that scalp-pulling platforming on the side of the nuclear power plant, it's a nightmare. While this is definitely partly a me problem, I'm genuinely awful at 2D and 3D platforming, as you can see here. I'm sure this has to be an issue for other players, right? Right? Finally, let's talk about how good of a GTA-style game or parody this is. I feel like they could have hit the notes of a GTA-style game a little harder. This really feels like more of a collection of driving missions with some open-world platforming in between. It's paced more like the Driver games rather than a GTA one, and you never get the feeling of multiple narrative through lines as you deal with multiple quest givers, and you never play factions against each other. You can, however, yank people out of their cars, though without the violence involved in the actual GTA games. The character says a line and the screen goes black for a second and boom, you're driving the car. This can be useful in a pinch when your own vehicle has exploded or you need something heavy or fast, but there's tons of phone booths dotted around the maps for you to get one of your own stock of vehicles, and those invariably perform better.
I need your help. My car is, sleeping.
Look at all this great stuff, Lise. Cool, personalized plates. Barclay, Barry, Bert, Bort. Oh, come on, Bort?
Mommy, buy me a license plate!
No, come along, Bort.
Are you talking to me?
No, my son is also named Bort.
Surprisingly, after Hit and Run, there's been a dearth of Simpsons games, with only 2 major releases. The first is the Simpsons game, the 2007 EA release, which was timed to come out close to the release of the Simpsons movie. While scoring a mediocre 71 on Metacritic, this is one of those good 7 out of 10 games, that I think has received a much more warm critical response 17 years after release. Whenever I was thinking about the graphics of Hit and Run, I was mentally comparing it in my head to the great looking cell shading of the game. This is another I skipped at release due to the lukewarm critical reception, a mistake I made all through the 2000s, the only reason why I don't personally own Haunting Grounds or Rule of Rose, 2 games that I was talked out of buying by reviews and gamer nerd buddies who told me to stay away even though I was interested. The Simpsons 2007 is definitely not a GTA-style game. However, there is a Grand Theft Auto parody in the game. It's further than I've got to, but here's some footage of it from the GamerMax channel.
Look at this place. Graffitos, bottle and bags, and way more pimps than I'm comfortable with. I just don't understand why Bart would want to play this game.
What is it with cats and mice? Can't they ever get along?
Lisa, you and I are gonna clean up this video game once and for all.
Do you think it will still be fun if you can't stomp cat prostitutes and take their money?
Of course. What's more fun than playing nice?
The Simpsons game is more along the lines of the cult hit Psychonauts, a fourth wall breaking narrative where the Simpsons realize they're in a video game after finding the game's instruction manual and slowly learning they all have superpowers. Eventually, Kang and Kodos are involved because it's the Simpsons game and they have to be. I was prepared to come into this essay and say that cell shading is the only choice for Simpsons games, and how much better this game looks. Admittedly, this is on the next generation of consoles, an early PlayStation 3 and 360 game, though it also showed up on Wii, DS, PS2, and PSP. And so much of its presentation is great, especially more than an episode's worth of original animation for its cutscenes, probably the best path for a Simpsons game to take. Initially, the characters look fantastic and animate smoothly, but you do run into one big old problem with taking the cel-shaded approach. Lenny and Carl. Just look at them. Look at them. It's like they fell out of the faces of evil.
Squad-a-la, we are off. Wow.
Hey, Carl, why do we fight so much?
Sometimes I think it's because it's all we have left.
The look of Hit and Run's characters are maybe a little ugly, but they're faithful to the 3D episode and how they render the figurines and collectibles. Most importantly, they're consistent, while this game shows that cel-shading The Simpsons is a bigger challenge than you might have imagined. Also, oof, the open world section does not look good and commits the cardinal sin of not having King Toots next to Moe's. Come on, level designers, you had one job, and that job specifically consists of putting Moe's next to King Toots. Sorry, I got a little flustered. I lost my cool. I won't do it again, I promise. So, if you made it this far into the review, you're most likely a Simpson fan, and yeah, if you want to pick up a used copy of this, I say go right ahead. It's a well-made game with some incredible elements of production value. And even I have been able to handle the platforming so far. You can too! The other notable Simpsons title is one that is now lost media. You can no longer download it off of any storefront. Simpsons Tapped Out. Sadly, I missed my chance to download this, but checking out video on the internet, it's one of those phone games about building things and having tasks that complete over a certain span of time. Admittedly, I'm in that age range where I'm not boomery enough or not Gen Z enough to be really hooked on these kind of phone games, so I really shouldn't put too much value judgment on it.
This Happy Little Elf game is so stupid. You tap and wait and tap and wait. And for what? So your pretend town can have more pretend flowers than your pretend friends? What a colossal waste of time. Hey, what if I buy a bushel barrel full of elfberries? That should speed things up. I spent $1,000? Oh well, I'll just tell them that my kid did that. Uh-oh.
Homer accidentally blows up the nuclear power station, and it's up to rebuild Springfield and recruit Simpsons characters. It's got a bit of The Sims, a bit of SimCity, and a whole lot of Farmville. The idea of a Sims or SimCity populated by the Simpsons characters is honestly a pretty good one, but I'm too allergic to free-to-play mobile games to really have given this one a shot anyways.
Hey, listen up. I want all of you to say hello to the Simpsons.
Hello!
Has the whole world gone insane?
Stand still, there's a spark in your hair.
Get it. Hot stuff coming through.
Dad, why did you bring me to a gay steel mill?
I don't know.
All that's left now is for me to apply mathematics to my analysis of the game, much in the style of Jeff Gersman and his science. Graphics, 3 cubes. I was originally going to be harsher on the looks in this game, but after eating my words at some of the horrors that can come from creating cel-shaded Simpsons models, I'd say it's a perfectly cromulent looking game. Also, compared to Grand Theft Auto 3, it runs much better, at least on Xbox, though it can get chuggy on occasion, and the models do a good job of taking the look from the Homer 3D episode in the toys. Bland looking environments pull it down a little bit, as do the overly simple cars. Story, 5 cubes. Story and writing is what the game is remembered for. While the writing can lean a little too hard on references to old episodes, the new jokes and performances are so good that I gotta give this maximum points. We've all seen The Simpsons do alien invasion stories before, but it's the goofy plotting around the quests you're assigned and the character banter that's the best part, especially Frank's rambling. Open world, 4 cubes. This is by far the best virtual realization of Springfield that I've played, even counting the 2007 Simpsons game. So many things, from the nuclear status sign to King Toots to the Matlock Expressway, are in the right places, and even with the reins of a license they've managed to create fun to navigate play spaces, with plenty of shortcuts and surprises. My only real knock against the world design is that it's separated into different maps. I'd love to see everything placed in one contiguous area, but that might not have been possible with this engine, especially operating at a relatively good frame rate. On foot, 2 cubes. Like many open world games, things get sticky when the camera is forced to move around constrained spaces, and the platforming can be downright frustrating with hard to see corners and landing placement. Fortunately, the game doesn't revolve too much around on-foot sections, but when platforming is mandatory, it can get pretty frustrating. Driving, 2 cubes. Like the on-foot sections, the driving sections work, but they're not a pleasure to use. In many of the other games we've looked at, especially GTA 3 and Driver, I will boot up the game just to mess around with the vehicles and explore. Here driving is functional, but not enjoyable, which is a problem as the game is almost all driving. Makes me wish that Radical had been able to create its planned sequels, as you know they would have improved this with time. Final score, 16 out of 25 cubes. Now please remember, I'm grading this as a GTA-style open-world game. This isn't a letter grade review or a Metacritic score. In the realm of the other open-world drivey-shooty crime games I've played, well, it's not the worst. That'd be Driv 3R, a game I really like. But I would never recommend Driv 3R to a friend, unless they like that kind of hot nonsense. Hit and Run, meanwhile, I'd recommend to Simpsons fans who are nostalgic for the 2000s run of the show, and for a good old bit of 6th generation open world gaming. Please don't murder me. Thanks for watching this video all the way through to the end. Please tell your friends, and give this a big ol' click on the like button. Subscribe if you want more Kubert Opens Worlds, Bears and Games, racing game reviews, queer video game history, and more. If you think you want to hear me talk about RPGs and other such story-heavy games, tell your podcast app to download the Square Roots podcast. You can hear me, Vanessa, Matt, and Jim play through your favorite games a chunk at a time, like a book club. We've finished over 60 games now.
I'll go there now.
Goodbye, and I love you. Platonically. Next time on Kubert Opens Worlds, the Saints come marching back in.
I'm sorry about last night. I didn't hear about the museum until it was too late to warn you. The Collective don't tell me shit. You should come to the Idols party with Eli and I later. Open bar? No? Okay, I'm gonna go.
Oh!